Welcome to the Bird and the Beard podcast, the first episode. Michael Knauff, Cameron Carriglio. How you doing, Cameron?
Good. I've never done this before. I just kind of know about football. I'm just going to be like a little stat nerd over here, just regurgitating facts.
So I will say this, Cameron probably knows more about college football than anyone you might ever meet, so he's going to do most of the talking when it comes to your actual fact tidbits and stuff. But we're starting off pilot episode here today, and we're just going to go over the Week 0 matchups. Obviously, all two of them. A packed week, but starting off with number 8, Florida and Miami, the big one this weekend, followed up by Arizona and Hawaii. Not as marquee, but definitely some intrigue
Probably
there.
More exciting to watch, quite frankly.
From an offensive standpoint.
From an objective standpoint, probably more entertaining.
Quarterback-wise, that's absolutely going to be more of an exciting draw, but basically here on the Bird and the Beard, and we might explain the names of this podcast a little bit later. But just basically going to break down each week of the college football season, go through each conference week by week. Obviously, Week 0, not a whole lot going on. Next week, with actually being Week 1, we'll have a full in-depth breakdown of the first true week of the college football season. But for now, we're just going to go over number 8, Florida, Miami, and then followed up by Arizona, Hawaii. And we're going to dive pretty deep into both matchups. So we'll start with the highlight of the day, Florida, Miami, right in our own backyard. We both go to the University of Florida, so
Excuse our homerness.
the buzz around Gainesville has been something else for the past 6 months. And Florida and Miami meet in Orlando this coming Saturday. It'll be interesting. Both teams kind of have similar storylines, especially along the offensive line going in to Saturday's game. A lot of inexperience. Florida starting 2 or 4 linemen who didn't play a season ago, and the Miami having 2 freshman tackles, and both teams coming in with stellar defensive fronts. So that's kind of off the bat the big storyline, really.
I think quarterbacks is what it's really going to come down to, and how each offensive line manages to hold up. Miami, quite frankly, reminds me of Florida a bit last year. Florida won, 9 games, 10 games? Prior year?
9 games before the bowl.
9 games.
Yeah.
Won 10 with Northern Colorado. And then thudded 2 years ago for no real apparent reason. Talent was there. You have Miami win 10 games 2 years ago and 7-6 and played like crap the majority of the season. What scares me is that they're going to return to form a little bit, especially with Diaz, who seems to be a motivator that Rick didn't seem to be. But Jaron Williams is the biggest weakness for them, in my opinion. Plus running back depth. I don't see them really having an impressive running back core, which might force them to throw a little bit more than they're comfortable with early on.
And at least at the running back spot for Miami, DJ Dallas is back for the second year, so he'll provide some stability in the starting spot. But like you said, after him, not a whole lot really
They have 2 studs, sophomores, Harris and Lingard, but they're unproven, haven't done a whole lot. So, it's hard to bank on an experience like that. Their wide receiver core with Jeff Thomas and KJ Osborne is scary. Brevin Jordan's a really good tight end. But I think if Florida forces them out of whatever rhythm that they can get early, then it will be very tough for Miami to score.
And the biggest thing for Miami, because of such an inexperienced offensive line, is how often will they have to keep the running backs and tight ends in for pass protection. I don't see too early on Miami just allowing just the offensive line to have to go off the Florida defense. I think you're going to see Brevin Jordan and Will Mallory, tight ends for Miami, stay in and either chip or substantially block for Jaron Williams, who, unlike Tate Martell, not really a mobile guy, more of a pro-style passer. He's going to be rooted in the pocket for the most part, and if Jabari Zuniga and Grenard on the ends for Florida can, dominate their matchups on the edges, then it's going to be a long day for Williams. So he might have to have guys stay in and chip, which will obviously hurt the passing game.
I'm expecting a good amount of play action, especially to the flats. because Florida got exploited with that a little bit last year at times. It wouldn't surprise me if they pick up a couple early first downs, maybe drive down a little bit on their first 1 or 2 drives before Florida kind of figures things out. As far as Miami's defense, that's a very talented defense.
It's unreal. They're great in
return 6
secondary.
starters, really 7 if you include Zach McLeod. But I mean, their corners, Trajan Bandy, front 7's great. I don't know. Florida is probably going to struggle. I would expect them to put up under 350 yards.
Then in the second, especially throwing the ball. I mean, Franks is going to have to be incredibly selective throwing against the Miami secondary. They were 3rd last year in passing defense.
Well, they're ball hawks. They're aggressive. It's not like Florida at times where they, 3rd and Grantham.
They're gonna get stopped.
Yeah.
With Gervin Hall back there. I mean, he's.
You can't say this for much about Miami, but that's an intelligent defense, and they play like it most of the time.
The one thing, though, that Miami really struggled with last year, though, was rush defense against top 50 rush teams. I was looking at it a couple days ago. Miami last year played 5 top 50 rushing offenses, and in those 5 games allowed on average 214 yards.
That was what? Pitt, Wisconsin.
They're not UNC, Boston College, UNC, LSU.
Wisconsin torched them.
Yeah, 355 yards.
I mean, Wisconsin threw the ball like 5 times.
But they didn't need to, so.
They didn't need to.
But that's the thing. Like, I think that for Florida, it's going to be a lot of LaMichael P. Ryan, and it's going to be a lot of stuff in the flats, screen passes to Kadarius Toney and to Grimes. I think you'll see the ball out of Frank's hands quickly, and Mullen's not going to let him meditate in the pocket and allow the Miami pass rush to.
I think if you get P. Ryan 15-plus touches, and then Davis / Damian Pierce, like probably 8 to 10 apiece, I think we're in good hands. I don't want to be throwing the ball 40 times on Saturday.
You're not going to win. You're not going to beat Miami throwing the ball 40 times.
And we literally only threw the ball 40 times twice last year, and that was against Missouri. That went great. And then Idaho, and that barely counts. That was basically just them seeing what they had in the receiving court, especially
Pretty
in the first
much.
half.
Yeah, which is
Frank's
basically
had,
throwing
like,
on air.
260 in one half.
At least.
It was something like that.
Yeah, it was basically throwing on air.
I mean, they were playing like 11-on-7 is what it felt like.
But obviously rushing attack-wise, Florida was top 30 in the nation last year. And despite an inexperienced offensive line, I mean, probably the most important guy in the offensive line is returning, Nick Buchanan at center. So I think he'll do a good job of facilitating communication between the rest of the offensive line. And it's not like the guys on the offensive line it's not like they're freshmen or redshirt freshmen coming in. There are a lot of redshirt juniors who've just really never played before. I mean, you have Stone Forsythe at left tackle, Brett Hedgie, who has really battled injury in his first few seasons in Gainesville, and he's really thought of highly as, he's 6'4", 330 pounds. He's a small mountain. And then Buchanan at center, Chris Blake at right guard, and then Jean Delance at right tackle.
Well, it's not like the guys that Florida lost are irreplaceable. It wasn't that great of an offensive line. And if you look at John Hevesey's career as an offensive line coach, his inexperienced lines have tended to be better. And that goes back, obviously, to his Michigan State days about 10 years ago. And it's marked. If you look at his inexperienced lines, they run for quite a bit more yardage. I don't have the graphic on hand, but interesting stat.
And Hevesey's really praised the offensive line up to this point and the improvements they made. And really, as long as they're serviceable, I don't see why Florida can't have a relatively explosive offense in the run game.
No. As far as betting, which is always fun to get into, I will take the over on the scoring line and the under on the over-under. Currently the line's at 7, the over-under's at 47. I think Florida wins somewhere around 24-16, 24-13.
It's about
I don't see either side having a whole ton of success. Clearly, either team could get Mizzou'd, like Florida has a few times, where they allow 40 points without really having to do anything defensively.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree probably.
But those are old. That's old Florida. That's Muschamp Florida. That was
Yeah.
Mac, Florida. That was
McElwain, Florida. That was a 45-16 game.
Actually, no. The bad one that I'm thinking of was Muschamp, where we lost 42-14 or 42-7 and allowed like 140 total yards.
Oh, I remember
They had
talking
5 defensive/return touchdowns. I don't see that ever happen.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen under Mullen. If it does, then Florida's
Bye-bye.
just cursed. But I would agree, score prediction-wise, about 24-10, 24-13. I don't see Miami really being able to generate a whole lot of offense.
Although it is worth noting that my recent, aka since I've been 12, my experience as a Gator fan has taught me to be pessimistic. So that score can very easily go the other way to me.
Yeah,
But, I mean, my logical football mind says that probably won't happen, but just me being a Florida fan,
you being a
it's
pessimist,
possible.
yeah. But
We'll move on to Arizona.
yeah,
About talked out Miami.
well, yeah, it's been basically a dead horse beaten at this point between about Florida, Miami, and
Whatever we're saying, you've probably seen it on Twitter.
but Hawaii, Arizona, not as much attention given to it. The 6th time ever that Hawaii and Arizona are going to be seeing each other, and Arizona's won every matchup, whatever that tells you, between the two schools. But really, for this game, it's the quarterbacks for each team that really catch your eye. Khalil Tate for Arizona getting his 3rd season as a starter there, and then Cole McDonald.
When he was good, he was really good, but he looked really bad at times last year. So if he's improved and maintains consistency, which is something to run and shoot outside of Colt Brenton has always actually struggled with, they're gonna be successful if he's consistent this year.
He threw for almost 4,000 yards last year with 36 touchdowns, I think it was, and they returned a pretty solid receiving core. Juju Ward back,
And Cedric Bird.
and Cedric Bird is back as well.
They also returned both of their top 2 running backs, which may not seem important in offense like that, but in 3rd and short, they do like to run the ball. Dayton Ferruta is 5'11", 250. Mountain.
Jeez.
Big Samoan mountain of a man. He'll average 4 yards in a cloud of dust and not really be that impressive, but they need him.
He'll move the sticks.
Yeah, they
essentially.
need him. Then they have that Cal transfer from a few years ago, little slot guy, Melky Stovall. They returned their entire offensive line,
Which helps, yeah.
which helps their pass coverage quite a bit. Not coverage, protection. I mean, they returned 18 starters, but they flagged down the stretch, and outside of a win that they probably shouldn't have had against UNLV and a win against a flagging San Diego State, they got destroyed in the bowl game on their home turf by Louisiana Tech. And prior to the 2 wins, they had lost 4 in a row by a lot of points. So I don't expect their defense to hold up particularly well against the Khalil Tate, J.J. Taylor monster in the Arizona backfield. I expect Khalil Tate to probably have a healthier ankle this year, be able to run a little bit more. And if he's able to get outside the pocket and wreak havoc, I think Arizona wins the game by 20.
It's a bold prediction. But Arizona, under Kevin Sumlin, back for his 2nd year, and they invested a lot of stock into him. And if Arizona loses this game, I think Sumlin could easily find himself in the hot seat.
I mean, but you also look at Pac-12, and that conference is so open, they could lose this game, then
And
win the
still win the South. Yeah, just because it's.
I mean, they were in the South at 5-5 last year. That's how wacky that conference was, especially that division.
I mean, outside of Utah, that division is really wide open.
Important to note about Arizona is they lost their top 4 receivers from last year. Their leading returner has 268 yards and 4 TDs last year. But they returned their top 4 rushers and all their quarterback production. So
offensively, they should be fine.
offensively, they should be okay. Defensively, they were
They're
They
bad.
were not good.
They're 90th, 92nd
something around
in the
there.
country last year in total defense. 92nd.
I mean, they had a couple good games. If you look at that upset over Oregon, they pretty much dominated, but then allowed 55 points in the first half to Washington State. So a little bit of a bipolar team. Only picked off 7 passes last year. While I think that Hawaii will have the better record on the season, I think Hawaii goes. They played 13 games this year. Yeah, they play 13 games this year. I think they win 8 of those again.
They have a pretty tough opening stretch.
Yeah, they go Arizona State, Oregon State, Washington. And they also, obviously, have their conference schedule, and they play Army to close the season. And Army, I think, go 11-1.
Yeah, and Army's the real deal. And they draw Boise State. They go to Boise State. They host Fresno State this year, who they might be down compared to last year, but they'll still probably be formidable. So yeah, for Hawaii, it's a pretty rough stretch.
But I mean, I think they'll beat Oregon State. I don't think nothing has led me to believe that Oregon State's good again, or even decent. But I think Arizona wins maybe 6 or 7 games this year. I think they lose to Texas Tech on their home turf in a few weeks.
Do they make a bowl game?
The new look T-Tech, as it were. Yes. I think they get the better of Arizona State this year. I don't know why I think that. Arizona State's breaking in a new quarterback. Obviously, you remember last year Arizona blew that huge lead in the fourth quarter and lost to Arizona State. And they would have gone to a bowl if they had just not done that. And they were not good last year.
No.
Will Tate missed a few games. Rhett Rodriguez had to play. He wasn't good, especially in that offense. Offensive line is big for Arizona because if they collapse the pocket on Tate, let him not run, then they might be in trouble. But I think I'm thinking like 42-27.
Yeah,
I think it's like a tight first half, and then Arizona kind of wakes up, figures out the run and shoot a little bit. There's one thing the run and shoot's always struggled with, playing against teams better than them, or secondaries that can adapt.
Just because it's pretty a vanilla offense, generically speaking.
I mean, even going back to when they beat Bama in like 2003, I think, 2004. Their passing numbers for that game weren't actually that good. Like they threw for less than 300 yards, and that offense was spectacular. But I'm excited to see McDonald this year. I think he has a crack at 5,000.
Oh, man, he'll be a lot of fun to watch, as long as he can stay healthy and just relatively consistent.
Well, then he has Army, and he did throw for over 300 against them last year and torched Navy. So triple option, Navy isn't that big of a deal, but that can hurt his numbers.
Yeah, just because of lack of possession.
I mean, that was Kyler Murray's worst game last year.
Yeah, because he had, 3 possessions the entire game?
Yeah, he had the ball for like 11 minutes.
Well, I think Oklahoma scored on every possession in that game. They had the ball 4 times.
No, it was 21-21 going into OT.
Right.
So, yeah.
So their 4th time was in overtime. At least for Arizona, Colin Schuler's back at middle linebacker, and that might provide a little bit of stability on their defense from a season ago. I mean,
yeah, they have all their linebackers back.
I mean, Schuler, they're talking Scooby Wright production out of him this season.
Wasn't Wright a nose tackle?
Wright was a middle linebacker.
Really?
Yeah, he had 164 tackles his senior season. So,
yeah, they get all their linebackers back. They get both their safeties back. Defensive line's a little bit of a work in progress. One of their projected starting nose guards is a new guy from JUCO. The other has played every year except last year. He was out for the year last year. At defensive end. So then they have one turning defensive end.
There'll be a work.
It may not be that big of a deal. McDonald's relatively mobile, but that run offense is not very sophisticated. If any of you guys watched them on Stadium at 3 a.m. last year.
As a true college football fan.
Yeah, they're actually broadcasting, Mountain West is broadcasting Hawaii's games on Facebook this year instead of Stadium, which you can only watch on your phone.
Which obviously makes no sense
the dumbest
whatsoever.
thing in the world, but yeah.
How does that even work, though? How do you not be able to watch something on a desktop or a laptop?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a fault in programming. It never made any sense to me. It's not like you can cast it, or I can't, but I still watch it on my phone.
Little 4-inch screen.
Yeah. They're fun to watch, made up for it.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, a few games of theirs down the stretch were not very fun to watch. Because they were getting blown up weeks like 8 through 11. BYU, Nevada, Fresno State, and Utah State all beat them by 18 plus.
Yeah,
So-
they kind of went down the crapper towards the end of the season.
Well, they should have lost to Wyoming.
Yeah.
Somehow their defense stepped up that game. They should have lost to UNLV, should have lost to San Jose State, took them 5 OTs and like 4 San Jose State missed field goals to win that game. It was one of the worst games I've ever watched.
Yeah, San Jose State was an abomination last year.
They're not really going to be better. But
But for this game, Arizona, talent-wise,
yeah,
probably just going to out-talent Hawaii.
yeah, I would think. I mean, I think someone's coaching capabilities are relatively limited. Never really been a big fan of his.
He really underwhelmed at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, his Houston days were obviously great, but he had Case Keenum. And that offense, he was running the true air raid back then.
So you're going to put up yards. You're going to put up
I
points.
mean, he had Manziel. Then you saw what happened when he didn't have Manziel. I mean, he had 4 games of Kenny Hill. Kenny Trill.
But after Hawaii, though, for Arizona, they have Northern Arizona, so a bye week. And then, like you said, Texas Tech comes to town.
Well, they actually have a bye week then, Northern Arizona.
So they have 2 bye weeks.
Bye week.
Nobody
Nobody that plays week 0 plays week 1.
for like the first time. We were talking about that
Yeah,
earlier.
first time I can remember.
But then they have Texas Tech, and they start conference play, hosting UCLA, traveling to Colorado, and then they host number 13 Washington.
Yeah, Colorado is going to be a bye week this year for a lot of teams. I think they go 3-9.
Yeah, they weren't great last year, and they're not. They haven't.
Well, they've lost 7 games in a row coming into this season.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Pac-12 as a whole more next week when we actually have Week 1.
Yeah.
And like 50 games going
Oh,
on.
it's more than that.
If you count FCS,
I think it's 63.
net count.
63 games that FBS teams are included in next week.
So plenty
Yeah.
of college
Maybe even
football.
more. Crazy amount. It goes from Thursday to Monday. So.
Yeah, it's a marathon of college football, and we'll break those all down next week and go through each conference, teams in them, kind of predict how we think each conference will pan out, and then obviously go through the big games of next week and break those down a little bit further. And
All the new QBs at big programs.
there's a lot of new
I'm excited
quarterbacks.
to see what Hank Bachmeier does at Boise State, just because that name annoys me on a visceral level.
That's a name.
Go get him, Hank. and are my favorite, Bo Nix at Auburn.
Gosh,
5 letters, the bare minimum for a last name. Or a name in general.
in the English language.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm surprised he beat out Gatewood, honestly, for that job, but
I'm not. I think Nix fits what they want to do better. But
he's a better runner. Gatewood's more of a pocket passer, but
we'll talk about that.
we'll talk about that next week. But so both of us can sense Florida over Miami, Arizona over Hawaii.
Yep.
And
Both cover. And what's the over-under on Hawaii? 73.5. I'll take the under on that.
yeah, I get the under on that. I just think Hawaii will.
Although
score
that game
enough.
could easily get out of hand. Who knows? It could be
It's a crapshoot.
It could be like 59-41 ridiculousness, but I don't think so. I don't think Arizona allows that many points.
No, the line's what 11.
11.5. I think Arizona covers.
Yeah, I give you the over on that. Yeah.
If I was a betting man.
Yeah. It's still illegal to sports gamble in Florida, isn't it?
I don't know. Ask all my friends. That use
Illegal,
Bovada.
air quotes. Yeah.
I have like a bunch of friends that use Bovada.
Yeah. Everybody who bets basically does. But pretty much a general consensus for this week. Nothing really crazy, I'd say. Like
No.
Miami could. There is a route for them to beat Florida. If
It
there's
involves Florida screwing themselves to me,
and Felipe Franks,
which they have done, and Felipe
he's fully
is
capable of doing so.
I mean, even last year, you look at Vandy. First half Vandy, not second half Vandy. Second half Vandy, the light bulb went on.
Yeah, and
Or Mizzou.
Missouri is obviously the glaring.
But if he improved as much as he did last year, from 2 years ago to last year, from last year to this year, we're looking at like a first-round draft pick.
I mean, when it comes to like arm talent, Franks, I mean, he can throw the ball probably 75 yards.
Yeah,
I'd
he's
say.
a bazooka, and he's more mobile than you would think. His ball protection's not great, but he's more mobile than you would think.
He's like a full-grown giraffe. He used to be like a baby giraffe when he was running,
He runs a little better now.
but he's kind of expected to under Mullins' system.
Yeah, really, I was screaming multiple times last year for them to stop doing design runs with him. It's asking for injury to me. I mean, that's kind of what Emery's for.
At the same time,
They did
though,
redshirt him, though. And
they redshirt Emery.
yeah, I know.
But same with Franks at the same time. I mean, when you've got a guy who's 6'6", 250 pounds, I mean, he can take some.
Yeah, but all it takes is one dive at the ankles. Bye-bye season, ACL. See ya. I mean, he seems pretty durable, but still.
But still, yeah, and he does wear a knee brace already.
I thought he did. He does.
That's what I said.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does. He does wear a knee brace. Yeah, so
I like Florida's receiving core.
it's very.
It's deep. I don't know if any of them are superstars, but
I mean, they are all different in the
Yeah.
Van Jefferson's an elite route runner. Grimes will go over
Freak.
anybody, 6'5", and
I mean, I would take Jeff Thomas over all of them, but as a unit, I like Florida better.
one guy I'm really excited to see this year is Jacob Copeland.
I was thinking Kyle Pitts, but
Pitts, I mean,
or Jacob Kroll. I'm man crushing that dude.
dude, he is.
I wanted him to do more last year. He seemed like the team mascot a little bit. He was always so hyped.
He really was. I mean, when he threw that the Felipe special against LSU, that was his shining moment.
He was a pitcher, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was a video on Twitter about a month ago. He threw 96 on a radar gun down the pipe.
The A's are waiting for his college career to be over so they can sign him.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like they did that one dude.
That one dude who just
Random
showed
ass
up,
guy
yeah.
Showed up at Coors. That's about all I got.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's with Florida and Miami, like I think both there's similar game plan for both teams. I think it's gonna be a lot of try to run the ball up the middle, short screen passes, and then try to set a play action off of that, and from there, basically that down to execution on the offensive line.
Yeah. The
Okay.
basics.
Yeah, pretty simple, straightforward stuff, and that'll do it for our first episode on the Bird and the Bear podcast. Maybe next week we'll kind of give a background on the names.
Michael looks like a bird.
Okay.
I have a beard.
He has a beard, and
There you go.
that's basically it. Yeah.
We'll have to be back on Wednesday, however.
So, a bit
We'll
early.
Start Thursday.
Bit early, so yeah, we'll have to start for the Thursday matchups. Clemson, Georgia Tech that night. The betting line on that's obscene already. It's
Ridiculous.
almost 15,000.
If you bet 100, you make 5,000 or 6,000, I think. If you want to win 100, you bet 16,000, 15,000.
Yeah, it's
stupid.
dumb. Clemson's such a large favorite in that
It's the biggest
game.
conference line I can remember. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, the over-under is 59.5 and the line's 36.5.
So basically, expect Clemson to drop 50 on Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Is what that's saying.
Yeah.
But we'll break down everything on Wednesday, so be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel, The Bird and the Bear. And we'll talk to you guys then. For Cameron Carriglio, I'm Michael Knauff. We'll see you next time.